Okay, so today we're going to learn about how to reverse doubly linked list. Well, this type of technique is very useful to reverse any data type, especially dynamic data. Right. So what do we mean by dynamic data structures, right? So well, if you look at the diagram right here, if you look at the top one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes, right? And they each of them are linked using basically an arrow, and in this case, next and previous. So instead of swapping each data, we will swap. We will just basically sort or swap uh, the nodes, right? Basically sorts, yeah, sorts the nodes in the reverse way. So why do we do that? Why don't we just swap the value like we did in array, right? Well, easier said than done, right? This type of dynamic uh, data structures, we can just simply swap any data type. I mean, these data. It's really a lot of too much work in the uh, coding, and also resource. It really eat up the resource, and yeah, it's very complex, and it just doesn't make any sense to work that too much and coding too much on that. So instead we will just swap, yeah, we will just swap each nodes and then reverse it, something like this right here, and we're going to update the head and tail, and that's it. So yeah, let's jump into the code and we will understand it better, right? Okay, so we have this dot reverse function, and then that function will not take any data. We don't need to take any data, but we will check if the head is empty or not. That will indicate that we are good to go. So if it's empty, then we are returning a null, indicating the linked list is empty. Okay, and next one we will just we will have the current node, right? And then this will be the head, and we will have a previous node. So this is how we going to reroute the each links, the previous and next from the each nodes. So after that, it will be reverse. Okay, and we will have to update the head and tail. So but we can do that. It will make more sense after this. So we can start with the while loop pointer. While current node is not empty, or the linked list is not the end of the tail or the end of the list. It's not no, right? We will traverse, and that next will be something dot next right here. So makes sense. And then traversing the linked list, while we're doing that, we have to reroute the next and previous. So well, under here we have to remember the previous node, which is current node. Make sense? So that previous node will become the new head later on, right? So before that, we have to reroute it. So current node dot next will be pointing to previous node, and then current node dot prev will be pointing to basically the next node. Okay, So that's how this is basically reversing the arrow. So dot next will be pointing to previous node, and then the previous node will be pointing to the next node, which is the number 2. So if you look at the number 1 right here, what we are doing is this previous node will be pointing to dot next. So sorry, this that previous node will be pointing to the next node, which is right here. So it will be something like this. The null will become node number 2, and the next will be pointing to previous node, which is null right here, right? You're just cutting off the links right here. So it makes sense, right? So if you look at the number 4, node number 4 right here, the tail, right? So this automatically node number 1 become the tail right here. So next is null, and then previous is number 2. If you look at the bottom, make sense? Okay, so that's what we're doing. And then number 2 will be automatically, so, and also we update the current node into the previous node, and now we traverse into the next node, so which is number 2, right? On the top it will be number 2, and it will reroute itself into pointing to number 1, the next node, and then put the previous the prev link will pointing to the previous node, but the next node, which is number 3, and then slowly it's just changing their link, their directions. So that's what basically reversing doubly linked list look like. Okay, and then at the end of the rerouting each node, we will have to update this dot head with this dot tail. No, sorry, the tail will be the old head, and then the new head, the previous node will become the new head. So basically the previous node is going to take over this the top number 4, data 4, and then that data 4 will become the new head, right? Makes sense, right? And then it will be pointing the previous the prev link will pointing to null, so indicating that this is the head, and it's done, right? So that's how we're going to reverse doubly linked list. So let's check if it's going to work or not. Control and enter, and it worked. So that's it for reversing doubly linked list.